Hello there, it's Caroline. In this video I'm going to show you how I finished my 2 circular acrylic pours with a top coat of epoxy resin. So here I'm mixing the 2 parts, the resin and the hardener together. They have to be measured extremely accurately and mixed for a specific length of time. So the resin I'm using is from Resin 8, a UK company based in England, and this particular resin is called Coated, and it's a multi-purpose resin which dries clear and shiny, and it is for home use, providing it's used as directed. And it does come with all the safety data sheets and technical data sheets which you can check online. The important thing when you're actually working with the resin is to wear protective gloves. Only really if you're making up huge quantities or sanding the resin, or you're particularly prone to chest or respiratory disorders would you need to wear a respirator. I'm just mixing the resin at the minute, so I'm just being really careful. But it is a lovely way to finish your paintings, and it just gives a coat of what looks like clear glass, and it really is fantastic. But you must remember that the epoxy resin is a liquid chemical, and you really must be very careful. But provided you go along with the instructions, which are all very clear, you'll be fine. I mean, there's no smell or anything to this resin, but I'm sure it would do no harm to open any windows. So on go the gloves. So there must be nitrile gloves, not your marigolds or anything you would use like that rubber. They have to be the nitrile ones because they won't tear or leak. So that's the resin there, coat it. So you've got part A and part B, and they recommend that you warm part A in warm water for 10 minutes before use, and you've got around half an hour to use it. They say up to 40 minutes, but it really depends, I suppose, on the temperature of your room or what sort of a day it is. But I usually try and get everything done within 30 minutes because it'll start going a bit tacky and very thick. So I have just poured a good amount onto each one, and I'm just using my hands to feel the pour and to feel where the resin is going, particularly on the sides of these because they are quite deep canvases. They're about an inch or so deep. The little one on the right is the wooden circle, and the one on the left is the canvas. So it's got sort of bits of canvas that are uneven around the edge. They've been stapled in this circular fashion, so they've got sort of ridges that'll be harder to cover. But what I do is sort of look down at in a really bright light at the resin, and you can, if you have a good light, you can see if there's any bits that you've missed or any little dimples, anything like that. It's also good before you start to wipe over your paintings with like a bacterial wipe. Just make sure there's no dust or dirt or anything on them. Or sometimes if you've used any silicone, there will be that's not good because it will repel the resin. So definitely it's not a good idea to use silicone. But if you wipe out the surface before you start, you should be fine. Now I should be wearing sleeves, but I was only making up a small amount here, and I was being very careful. So I have got my silicone mat, the black mat underneath, which I think is just I got it from Amazon. It's a kitchen mat sort of thing. It was about, I think, $9.99, something like that, and any of the resin that spills onto it hardens and you can just peel it right off, so it's really a good thing to have underneath your any resin work that you're doing. It is worth just being really careful at this stage to make sure you've got every little bit covered. This particular company that I get the resin from, I will put details in the description box, but they do different resins for different things. Although the coat that I'm using for this is a multi-purpose one and you can layer it up, but there's one called Fillet, which obviously you can fill up to about 5 centimeters at a time, and there's a heat resistant one as well for coasters and things. That's really good. Definitely would check them out online. They have good sales now and again. So any bubbles that have formed will just go if you torch them, or you can even use a hairdryer at this stage. Now this is really important to put some sort of covering over the top so that it doesn't dry with some dust. And then the finished pieces, I was very pleased with how these turned out. The little wooden one, I haven't quite worked out what I'm going to use it for yet, but I'm happy just to keep looking at it. So thanks so much for joining me, and see you next time.